if you had a chance to work with this kid and you were coaching and want to bring him into the NFL, that there was anybody in the world that wouldn't want to do that?
Trevor Lawrence is a freshman, yes. Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, you killed my argument entirely. You saw that coming, didn't you?
Trevor Lawrence is a freshman, yes. Trevor Lawrence, from what I've seen so far in the NFL, who's underperformed, I mean, like I said, it has to be about the opportunity to be the head coach. Because quite honestly, you go look over the past 2 years, you compare Baker Mayfield to Trevor Lawrence. I'm gonna take Baker Mayfield all day. And I'm not just saying that because there's a Buccaneers flag hanging over my shoulder. That's the football player in me comparing the two, just apples to oranges, or apples, even red apple to green apple. I'm not going to take that teal apple in Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, because right now he is not living up to the contract that he just got at all.
Let me ask you this, though. They talked about, because, everyone's been hanging on this, and we kidded around about, and I do want to work back to Jay Stoggs and the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the last time I got a chance to talk to you. That was the day that Jay Stoggs, I asked him, give us some names on that defense that are going to stop the Buccaneers offense, and he literally went down the list. I don't know if you already saw the script for that game, so we'll get to that in a second. But as far as these days, you see a player gets drafted, and before you even get off the stage in New York, all of a sudden there's a pop-up on X that says he's at the $1 place signing that contract. The fact that they agreed in principle on this thing, the Glazers still told Liam Coen to take the first interview because it could be good practice, and they don't get anything for 4 or 5 days. Do you really think the team actually thought that this was still a question, or didn't they actually believe that Jacksonville had already lured him away and they were being respectful? Because it kept pretty quiet until yesterday evening.
Honestly, the way it played out, the way I read it, I honestly think they thought once they went the first time and he came back, it wasn't going to happen. And so they was like, look, let's just go ahead to the short here. Let's make you the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. And let's go ahead. Let's make Tampa Bay home. And I think he agreed. I do not think they thought they were going to get undercut. They will get the rug pulled from under them like they did. And to me, Ray, there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of things I can do, right, when it comes down to being a professional. And that's one thing you learn as an athlete. And they tell you, I have to learn how to be a pro. As much as I want to be, I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and I wanted to be there forever. I had to be a pro, and I had to go in and talk to John Gruden when it was time for my contract to be up. Listen to the spiel that he gave me, listen to what Richard McKay said, talk to Rob Marinelli, go home, talk to my wife, and at the end of the day, I made the decision to leave and go with Tony Dungy because I just thought it was going to be better for me. But at the same time, I called my agent and told him, hey, I need to call Rich McKay and have a conversation, let him know what I decided to do.
That's a gentleman.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you handle things.
Yeah.
Now, whether Rich wasn't dying like, oh, damn, we're going to lose James. Okay, hey, James, thank you so much. Boom. It was over. But I had the decency to tell him what was up. I didn't ghost him. I did not pick up my telephone. I didn't go hide in the middle of the night like, oh, I didn't get it. Like, hey, man, wait, imagine that. Hey, dude, he back. The press conferences come out, all the presser releases. Everybody's happy. Yay, excitement. You got Todd Bowles, you got Baker, you got everything. Next thing you know, it's like crickets.
Okay, and you're right about I'm not informing the team, and I'm not defending that. I'm not defending the fact that, he actually, and we heard, of course, I heard of Tom Krasnicki on the drive on WDA saying that we know that, and I said this the other day, I said he might have a child. My daughter currently has the A strain of flu. She's getting over it, but it's going around. So I get that. So he kind of parlayed that jump on the back to say, and it probably did make him a little incommunicado, but then yesterday at 5:00 when he calls and talks to Bowles and says, he might be changing his position, but then the Buccaneers get someone inside the Jacksonville Jaguars facility within the hour, and he's already in the building. It really did go downhill fast, didn't it, for him?
It did. But like I said, I fault no man for one. If you're coaching, like I said, if your coaching dream is to be an NFL head coach and the opportunity is there, and then you get rid of the GM that a lot of people said should have been going a long time ago, that should make the situation a little bit better. Yeah, I think you take it, but at the same time, just say it. Just say it.
Do you find it intimidating that literally Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, I think it's probably the owners were York, but definitely not DeBartolo, but that was the last time you hire a coach, Kyle Shanahan, and you literally let him handpick his GM, and of course John Lynch, and they had the relationship. He works right into it. I don't think that because I think Liam Cohen's going to be busy finding his ass from a hole in the ground, figuring out how to coach 53 men on both sides, and probably. But at the same time, you think that the task he takes on there, it's not the team that he has here. How long do you think Shad Khan or is it just a play for another year or two? Give Trevor Lawrence a shot, and then they can work him out the door and maybe look for the next coach. It's going to be a hard hill for him to climb there in Jacksonville. That's the same team, not the same personnel they have here in Tampa Bay.
Right now, I did hear that Shad Khan, owner-wise, is a guy that's pretty loyal to who he brings in. And he's going to give you a chance. So I believe of all the teams that Liam Coen picked, this is probably the best one to have a chance. Now, this is what I've been told. Don't know the man, never met the man. That's just what, some people that I've met and talked to that, that work in offices around the league have said. You look at the offense they have. They do have Travis Etienne at running back.
And Bixby, too, yeah.
And they have Calvin Ridley with wide receiver, Gabe Davis a wide receiver, the rookie that they drafted last year. God, what's his name? I am drawing a blank. I was just talking about this earlier today.
Receiver, not Taylor? No, it wasn't Taylor. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
But, rookie, they have some pieces. They're going to have to work on getting the defense. So I think he saw some pieces there that he's like, you know what? I can make this happen. It'll work. No big whoop. We're going to make things happen, right?
Yeah.
So he gambles on being able to go in and reinvent Trevor Lawrence. We are going to see. Because right now, like I said, I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence at all. He's going to have to prove. I'm from Missouri. I'm from the Show Me State.
And here's the thing about the offense with this team. The unknown, right? Who's going to come in here? Who's going to operate this team? The cast has already been set a little bit, right? And ironically enough, I know that this isn't probably the most popular idea in the entire county, but what is it? And yourself having played, of course, I'm joined by James Cannida, host of the Big Game Sports Buzz on the BGSC network, former Buccaneer, former Indianapolis Colt, currently host of my favorite show. And take your time to drop that knowledge, real James. But a team that has such a, and this is why I ask this question, the team that has such a knowing, or in Todd Bowles' case, it's because he is a fantastic coordinator. He does the secret sauce. He's almost like we kept Monty Kiffin even after Tony and you jumped to Indianapolis, but still kept Monty Kiffin, still kept the base in. I think that we're going to spend a lot of time upgrading this defense in the offseason, but the fact that you have a team that may reinvent the offense even every year, but you have a dog like Baker Mayfield, you have that offensive line, you have the rookie Graham at center, and you have the running backs, wide receivers, and you got to keep Chris Godwin in the building now, right?
Right.
Does the defense get excited? They have an offense that could literally reinvent themselves, so it's less tape for the opponents to study week in and week out?
Yeah, hell yeah. And you also get excited because they're going to keep you off the field for the most part.
Oh, yeah, because you're enjoying it.
Right, you think back to those 90s teams that we had in Tampa and that defense being as dominant as it was. How many times did you hear around the league that, oh my God, if Tampa Bay had an offense to complement that defense just a little bit more, they can win numerous Super Bowls.
Well, we all knew that. I mean, you guys would have been, it would have been crazy. Because you guys were still doing it, and you guys it was 3 and out a lot. I mean, there was times you guys were taking IVs at home because the offense, bless their heart, they just couldn't keep you guys off the field long enough to catch your breath.
Amen. That's how it happened. And this I guess is the part of me, not the football player part, but the fan part. That's I mean, like I said, it's a little bit selfish, and you get pissed off because you're like, wait a minute, we finally got someone that I thought brought the best out of Baker Mayfield. And some people may hear me say that and think I'm crazy. Yeah, they may argue with me, but you look at what he did and compare his stats to a lot of other guys in the league, and he's a risk taker. Risk takers throw interceptions. I can handle that every now and then.
Yes.
But he found a pace to have a running back over 1,000 yards that had not been done in the last 8 seasons. I mean, it's only been 3,000-yard rushes in Tampa Bay history or something like that.
And Bucky did it so easily, and still have the talented, and still have Rashad White and Bucky. I still say Bucky Irving and Rashad White, best 1-2 tandem, and definitely in the NFC South. I'm not even talking into account, but a lot of things about this team in the NFC, one of the best in the NFC, but. Liam Coen gets out of the building, gets that job in Jacksonville, and everybody hears, and you heard Ian Rappaport, it was Ian Rappaport that said, in all of his years covering football teams, I've never seen a team so mad about it. And it sounds to me like he's maybe eating on both or reaching to both sides of the aisle. He's doing this with, reporting the news with the Bucs, and then also he's kissing a little bit at the Jacksonville side because that's how you remain the number one scoop in the entire National Football League, or one of them getting those pops. So I think that the Glaziers and Jason Lake, they questioned his manhood. They're not manhood, but his gentlemanness, and that slides. But at the end of the day now, I don't want to say I'm hoping the guy fails. One of the leading narratives, and we'll probably see him in the preseason. I hope the game's here. We usually see Jacksonville every year. His narratives going in is he have that success in Jacksonville like Dave Canales had with the Bryce Young their first year in Carolina, and does that continue to keep speaking good things for the entire organization we have here in Tampa Bay?
You know what? I'm never gonna wish on anyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be easy, but like, oh my God, he sucks. All he does horrible. And you can, as a fan, you can feel like that. You really can feel that. I give you that small window. Then at the end of the day, it's like, get over it, because that's not the only coach that's leaving, right? There's a lot of other pieces that need to be plugged in. Things got to get right. And Todd Bowles has some work to do. Jason Light has some work to do. Get this offseason. Like, it's really time to get to work and see what we can do to get things done. And like I said, I hate using this term, but I think it was bullshit chicken shit move. I just really do.
Yeah, it was.
100%. But at the same time, hey, it is what it is. Regardless of not, we hate it, we like it, we love it, we wish him bad, we wish him well. We still have to move on to make sure that the right person is hired that can come in and work with the nucleus of people that we have on this offense right now.
It's so ironic, and it's just because the name's out there. He's in the area. He sat in the owner's box for a game this year, and we were all like, "What? Gruden's in the owner's box after being taken out of the ring so fast?" And they say that he wouldn't get along with players because he's not a player first. He's more of a general. Wouldn't that be kind of an interesting narrative? Just throwing it out here. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Gruden was the offensive coach, because he still has the offensive concepts. This guy still learned under Andy Reid in Philadelphia, came from the tree, which was really big before even the Shanahan tree got so big, or from the Washington Redskins. But I mean, would this team survive it? Would they thrive with it, or how would it work for the Bucs if they hired Gruden as the OC for a year?
I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, it's good.
I wouldn't do it, because now someone like Todd Bowles that's already under a lot of pressure. Now you're basically telling me that I'm coaching with this guy as my offensive coordinator. You best believe Todd Bowles is not the coach looking over his shoulder the entire time.
Yeah, because there's
already so many rumbles that, oh my God, Gruden would do this with this offense, and they should bring him back and da-da-da. At the same time, I say this to everyone, and if you believe it, don't believe it, take it how you want to take it. After those first couple of years, look at Gruden's record and what he did. When he had a chance to talk about what he wanted in personnel-wise and everything else. Now, I'm not saying he's not a good offensive mind. I believe that Gruden could probably go anywhere and still be a heck of a play caller, X's and O's. I just don't think it needs to be in Tampa Bay.
Hey, 100% good point. And you talk about, it was what he did with Bruce Allen and and of course, they never recovered. I mean, how could you get the championship, which is the first in team history? Obviously huge, but you trade 2 1s and 2 2s. And don't forget, they actually fired Tony Dungy the week before because the plan on June 14th, because the plan was to bring in Bill Parcells. He leaves the Bucs at the altar for the second time. And then now you got to get him. I mean, it worked out, but not the same story we're talking about in 2024, but there are some contrasting lines.
Right.
What was wrong with the Buccaneers this year? Okay. We take Kansas City to overtime. They win the toss, and what surprise? Mahomes goes to the stretch of the field. Almost beat Baltimore. I know, almost hand grenades and horseshoes. Almost beat Baltimore. Almost beat San Francisco. All these bugaboos. Beat Detroit at their house. Embarrassed the pants off of Philadelphia here. Right. And then, of course, Jaden Daniels, Washington, the second time they played us really, really tight. But what happened in that last game that you saw that the Buccaneers just didn't go out and dominate like we all thought they were going to going into it?
I honestly think, Ray, that the Commanders' defense played better than we thought they would.
They played.
I know me. I watched the game like, whoa, hold up. I did not see that happening. I did not see
interior rush. Yes.
I just thought that it would be better. I thought we would run the ball a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, Liam Coen had some play calling that I thought was questionable in that game.
The delay trap with the
Yeah, and then you got Bucky Irvin trying to go block Bob Wagner. Really?
Yeah.
That was one of your best play calls.
And Dan Quinn
in the red zone.
Then Dan Quinn. There was some, which was funny because you say that is because there was some questions running up to that. Defense still plays strong. Their defense really showed up, and it was surprised. And it was like going into the game, the narrative was Marshawn Lattimore, and that never even went to pass. There was some coverage. He wasn't able to, but it was almost like they were saying, look at the shiny object over here while our defense is going to man you up, and we're going to keep this game tight. And that field goal at the end bouncing, that did add a little extra sting, though, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, it did. And not just that. Even look at Jalen McMillan on the motion, on the jet sweep or fake jet sweep. I don't even know what it was supposed to be because he got there so fast and bumped into Baker, knocked the ball out.
Yes.
He doesn't look like he was expecting the ball. That's why I think it was going to be a fake and a run with Baker sometimes. I've looked at that play a bunch of times, and I still like, what the hell were they really trying to do?
It was halfway on the hit, yeah. There was
what the hell really happened on that? But Ray, the one thing I've said, and I've had a chance to talk with a couple of different people that do Buccaneer shows.
Yes.
The injuries on defense, and just also the being old at certain parts on defense. Like, to me, this offseason, the secondary has to be a priority. The linebacker room needs to be a priority.
Yes.
And we need to get an edge rusher. And I don't know if you saw it, but I just put it out there and call me crazy. The guy is going into his 11th year, but I would pick up the phone and call Khalil Mack.
Man. Sell Tampa Bay, but let him come here and have some fun. He played inspired. He's still got a lot of gas in the tank. I'll tell you what.
And for what we need him to do, how you could play him, and it doesn't have to even be an every down guy, but yet he can be. He was an every down guy in the Chargers last year, and he was fine.
They were literally taking him out just like to rotate the line to have depth, but he'd go right to the sideline. He stood there not even out of breath. 100%. I mean, definitely a disruptive force on a defensive line, because that's maybe what you don't get into Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. What I still love about the entire line, of course, Vita Vea and of course Kalijah Kancey, but the entire defensive line doesn't have. They have some outstanding players, but they don't have that character, like that. I hate to say that Warren Sapp, not because it's such an easy low hanging fruit, but like that character. They have a great group of a defensive line and great platooning. I think Coach Vols did this year, trying to find something that just wasn't there with a Joe Tryon, trying to find something that just wasn't there at all times, trying to get that defensive rush. Right.
Yeah, it's something that's got to be addressed, and I think Jason Light has done a good job in the past of finding the right pieces to plug in. JTS was just, a miss. Logan Hall got a little bit more playing time this year. Still not the pressure you probably wanted to see out of a second-round pick, but at the same time, I think there's other ways to address it. I love Levante David to death, but I don't know if he's going to be back. And I think Savassier Dennis is going to be a decent linebacker, but he was hurt.
Got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he was hurt as well.
Yeah.
In the games he played, he did not play badly.
No, not at all. Showing up on a stat sheet, really running around. I mean, and Yaya. I mean, there's so many, they make fun of. People say, oh, you get Vita Vea on dropping out in coverage, or Kalijah Kancey, or running a defense. Of course, that's the reason why you have Joe Tryon. The reason why you have those long defensive or those outside linebackers. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of those coverages underneath were because of those injuries in the secondary, or the youth in the secondary so they were trying to cover a little bit with the front seven to give your back four a little extra chance. So, I mean,
But with the zone and stuff that we play, Todd Bowles has always done. I mean, zone dogs are nothing new. It's just the way you do it. It's just that we blitz so much. I mean, was it almost 70% of the time the zone coverage and the blitzing sometimes you do different things to drop your linemen back. It's a different wrinkle. You may want to see some things different, but it's not brand new. But at the same time, it's just some things you can do with Antoine Winfield Jr. that you can't do when he's not in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, that quarterback in the back end, he is your leader back there, and he's paid like it. But no, all pro. You knew it this year. Like the one play where the guy was crossing the goal line at the goal line, and you're like, 9 days a week, Antoine lays a little shoulder into him and does not let him cross that goal line. Right. But the fact that the shoulder was already giving him problems, and that was in like week 4, showed throughout this entire season. So Todd Bowles still to keep us in these games, to win 10 games. But then come up against a buzzsaw of a team in the Washington Commanders in the first round. Bit of bad luck, huh?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I think it'll be fixed. But Ray, I want to ask you something, man. Where are you when it comes to the Todd Bowles needs to go talk? How do you feel about that, man?
These Todd Bowles and what? I'm sorry?
The Todd Bowles needing to go. Like I hear that so much, and I'm just like,
Thank you.
What do fans want? Like, what are you really looking for, and what's better
A
out there for us
chance
right
to
now?
be in it every time. And 53 guys, like, and I alluded to this. It was like this when Coach Tony Dungy was our leader here and built the team, because you still have no dissension on either side of the ball, nothing but
Right.
supportive players, and they're all in the locker room. And just having Canales last year getting the job, and then Liam this year, I'm not saying, I don't want to be glib enough to say no matter who we bring in here, we're going to bring in Steve Spurrier and his 103-year-old concepts. We'll still work with it. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, you have a team that still believes in these people that want Todd Bowles want to go. I'm like, maybe I think James is like the last 5 years, starting with Tom Brady in 2020 and COVID. It's just they just got really a little bit side judging that the fact that it's not as simple as you think to be maintaining the excellence that the Buccaneers have been maintaining.
Oh, trust. I know.
I know you know. I mean, we've talked about this, and it kills you, doesn't it? Because I get it because of today's culture, and they're getting most of their sports updates on TikTok videos, and if they're from the Big Game Sports Buzz, they're good TikTok videos. But my point is that it's honest to God truth. That's a total testify right there. But I mean, so I get it that there's a contingent of people like fire Todd Bowles, but I'm like, you guys just don't get it. Canales got lucky. The Tepper helped him out in Carolina, and you talk about Shad's going to give Liam Coen a good shot there. But finding the right guy to run an organization, and Todd Bowles, wasn't it hard on him when he transitioned from Bruce Arians, and people were like, "Oh, it was his heir apparent." They're still going to look to replace him. He's 61 years old. Why would you even want that with what you have here with the Buccaneers today?
I know it makes you shake your head. It's just like,
yeah,
really, what? So I don't know, but I wanted your take on that because I see it, I hear it, and I've defended it, but at the same time, like, you know what? People are going to have their opinions. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Fortunately, although unfortunately, that because Vegas and legalized betting is so interwound in it, I don't think you'd see, and Jason Light would never do a fire of Todd Bowles to have kept the Liam Coen, especially now. What a bullet we dodged with his actions over the last 3 or 4 days. But I mean, Vegas still needs good competition, and they know that the Buccaneers, they see it. The money sees how good this team is. I don't think, a contingent of fans that want to fire Todd Bowles because somebody, farted and we made 12 yards on a first down run, realizes that, the consistency we have with this team, this is legendary, and enjoy it while we have it. And doesn't show any signs of stopping anytime soon. This team still has all the parts in place.
Right. I think it's going to be fine. The division that we're in helps. I think that we still have a leg up. Free agency is going to be key. I'm not sure if that Tom Brady money falls off after this year, but I've heard some of it just died down. A little bit of the cap is back. I mean, it's still tight. When I checked, I think it said we have $11 million to play with, or was it 21 million? I think
21.
Yeah, 21 million. Sorry.
I alluded to it. I have to ask you because it's not a question of whether you want to keep a Chris Godwin, and especially coming off the injury, he's going to rehab even harder and come back even better. But you say, at the end of the day, you have a McMillan that filled in there, and it's not the easiest position. He's not as tough as was Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is so phenomenal, next level. Or the other side of Mike Evans going into his 12th 1,000. I don't think that's even on the table. But if you want to address that defense and have an extra 20, 25 million, have you let your mind even think to what would the Buccaneers do if they didn't keep Chris Godwin and maybe let the fantastic wide receiver test the open market?
I mean, I honestly think that they're not even worried about trying to sign Chris Godwin because I think they're going to franchise tag him.
Oh yeah, I guess that's probably true. But could that also be a franchise move for a team like a Liam Coen or something like that in Jacksonville to want to get a target for Trevor Lawrence? But man, wouldn't that hurt if he went up there and gave him that slot receiver and all that success? Wouldn't it?
I know a lot of Carolina Panda fans. And shout out to my boy Rashad and Dave of Panther Nation podcast.
Okay, yes.
Who I do an NFC South roundtable with.
Yes.
They are big on wanting Chris Godwin. They are back with Canales. And I think that's a play that could make a play for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, and not putting Chris down, but the first time I hear franchise tag, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? It'd be like having a diamond in your pocket, not even taking a chance, but then you're going to get an offer. You're going to get an offer of a trade. Carolina finally has their first round pick back. Maybe the Buccaneers, Jason, like this defense could really get helped if they could work something like that or a trade for a phenomenal wide receiver, because you do have to do that sometimes, because at the end of the day, and this is the easiest thing to say, but it's the truest thing to say, it really is a business. So,
Yeah,
I mean, if that comes to pass, but then doesn't, I thought the same thing when we gave Chris the big contract and kept Mike on the team 4 years ago. I'm like, we just have a plethora, Leo word, of wide receivers, but Jason just seems to make it work because he realizes what it means to the dynamic of a locker room.
Yeah, and the business out of football sucks for a fan.
Yeah,
it sucks for a fan. But most are this in today's market and time. Most guys are not going to finish with the team they started with. It very rarely happens.
Yes.
But at the same time, someone said that they believe Godwin's been tagged twice already. I thought it was only once. But if he's been tagged twice, he can't be tagged again.
Oh no, he's been tagged once. He was tagged once when we gave him a new contract. We gave him a second contract.
That's what I thought too. So I think they could use another one.
Second round, we had him for 4 years. He was what? Yeah, no, that was right. We have a second one, and that I've already heard it talked about. That's probably. I mean, we'll talk watching the Big Game Sports Buzz, but yeah, putting a franchise tag on him, and yeah, it's definitely you could do it the second time. It's a little more expensive, but I still think with wide receivers and what they mean to teams these days, especially now that you have the narrative of two former Buccaneer coaches, but an entire league, just don't let them go in the South. Don't let them go to New Orleans. I don't want Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak is an offensive coordinator. Did they retain him when they fired the coaching staff there in New Orleans and the work he was doing with Derek Carr? I don't know, but that's a name that I'd be interested in if the Bucs were looking to, because he also comes from that same type of a zone blocking scheme running. And at the end of the day, it really is the dogs in that room that are going to make this thing work. They're going to have up and down games, but I think the genie's been out of the bottle. This team has the guys that can pull, they can get downfield, they can grade the road a little, and they can block. I think that's going to be the Buccaneers' offensive identity in 2025.
I agree with that. I think that's the way you have to go with that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I really want to see the right move be made. I think it's going to happen. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in the facility right now to kind of hear what's being spoken on and what's being talked about.
They're still cursing out Liam Coen, according to Ian Rappaport. They took Liam Coen off the Ring of Honor. They whooped him down just fast. They did John Gruden back in the day. Hey, I just realized we're pushing half an hour. I'm glad we didn't get too much into that. We talked some Buccaneer football, but before I get you out of here, and I appreciate you joining me on a Friday night, NFC Sunday, you got the Bills going to Kansas City, and of course you have the Eagles hosting the Commanders. What do you see? What does the James Cannida, former Buccaneer, former Colt, Big Game Sports Buzz podcast host see as far as this game? And then what are you really hoping for? Are they two? Or are they one and the same?
No, they're two totally different games.
I thought maybe, yeah.
First and foremost, man, right? I picked against Kansas City a bunch of times, and I don't think that's smart for me to do anymore. Like every time I say that the Chiefs are going to lose, Patrick Mahomes proves me wrong. In all honesty, looking at that game, the Chiefs and the Bills game, Josh Allen has had an amazing season this year, and every time you talk about what they've been able to do, you say he's doing it without, the receivers, losing Diggs and losing Gabe Davis, but still being able to do it. Then you look at D tackle Ed Oliver and how he's leading that defense of charge up front, and how they play in the secondary, and their linebacker play has been good. The Bills have been playing really good football. I think that if it's any time for them to strike and win, it's now. I really do.
They do,
but,
yeah.
It is hard to pick against the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you look at how the Houston Texans played them, I think the Bills do have a chance to win this game. I really do.
They played him straight up defense. But let me ask you, am I the only person in the world that thinks that for some reason they've been sitting on DeAndre Hopkins? Because that guy, they've been throwing to him so sparingly, and I'm like, wouldn't it be just like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to have a plan to break D-Hop out of the can in the AFC Championship, and then in the Super Bowl, you got the winner of the Commanders and Eagles looking for their ass from a hole in the ground, not knowing which Kansas City Chiefs team they're going to see.
Yes, indeed. This is the thing about Andy Reid. Andy Reid has done a great job, and Jay Stoggs and I were talking about this the other night on the show, and I was talking about it with a coworker of mine. I was like, Andy Reid has had so much success in Kansas City, you almost forget about his tenure in Philadelphia. and what he did there.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? He's kind of reinvented
Yeah.
himself. And he said this himself. He's changed a lot as a person and a coach to his approach to the players on the team, how he handles things, how he does things. The one thing they did well on offense last week is they got Travis Kelce involved in the game, right?
Yes.
And you made a good point. They did it so much so now you make the adjustment to take Kelce out of the game.
Yes.
Who's going to guard D-Hop? And I believe that this guy can still go out, and if you don't double him and give him single coverage, you can kill. He can kill
my
when
gosh.
he gets a chance. I think that's going to be a dangerous matchup. You're right.
Yeah, he's such a 50-50 balls. And, who throws better 50-50 no-look passes than Patrick Mahomes? Now, flip it over to the Eagles hosting the Commanders. Jalen, he took a bend. That knee took a hit last week, and the narrative is he may not be as mobile. And Washington says they're going to hit him like he's a running back when he's running with that football, but then bury the lead. That's exactly what Jaden Daniels does, but he's so elusive. What do you see there between the Commanders and the Eagles?
Man, I like this game. I like this matchup, and I believe that the Commanders really have a chance to go into Philadelphia and upset the Eagles, even with that Philadelphia defense. Jalen Carter's playing great. Love the way he's playing.
Jalen Carter's next level right now. Yeah,
the Eagles are beat up a little bit in the linebacker position, and somebody on the back end got hurt last week as well. Jaden Daniels has done some things as a rookie that we haven't seen in a very long time. He uses his legs. I want to see him be a little bit smarter and take less hits. He uses his legs well to extend plays and still makes the throws that he needs to make. He's another weapon. I mean, whenever you have a quarterback that can use his legs as well as his arm, it's hard to stop it. But at the same time, and people might kill me for saying this, and if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan and I offend you, I don't apologize. But Jalen Hurts take his legs away. If the Commanders can take his running capabilities away and make him throw, the Commanders will win the game, because I'm still not sold on him throwing the ball. He's going to have to rely heavily on his legs to win, which I know, and people don't say, you're a hypocrite. You just said Jaden Daniels does that well and he can win because of his legs. Jaden Daniels can still throw a lot better than Jalen Hurts, and is a better passing quarterback.
Yeah, he's been
as well as having the capabilities to run the game.
Which, going back, I mean, the Jalen Hurts, we've seen him. We saw him in his NFL career. We've seen him stand in the pocket and make the throws, but I don't know if it's related to the season he's had and then the injury he had just last week, but he's not looked comfortable in the pocket at all. He's hearing ghosts, and it's almost like he's playing against his Jalen Carter and his own defensive line, because I haven't seen him get comfortable, and you got to wonder, Devontae Smith, I'm like, did they retire? I mean, I think last week was the first time I've heard his name literally all year. He's had no Pacific highlights.
He and A.J. Brown has been kind of quiet the last 2 weeks as well.
Oh,
now I know the weather was beyond crazy last week with that snowfall, and they had to run. Now I know the biggest difference, or the biggest weapon, and I would love to have this guy on my team anytime, is Saquon Barkley. I think that's really the X factor. He's going to get his touches and his carries. Yeah. And can Washington slow him down and bottle him up is the question.
That's the thing. I'll tell you what. Then all because they're going to have 12 guys in the box trying to stop him, and then he goes next level on you and he runs for 78 yards because you've got nobody. And I don't think there's a safety in the NFL wants to try to tackle Saquon coming straight at him. But that Washington defense, wouldn't it be just like them to just play inspired enough to really, because you saw, like you said right against the Buccaneers, Dan Quinn had that defense ready to play. They kind of slapped us in the mouth, and to the Bucs' credit, they didn't get slapped too hard. I mean, it wasn't like they were intimidated, but the Commanders stepped up and they slapped. It's like there was a slap fight, right? The Bucs slapped first, and then the Commanders, and they won the slap fight. I mean, that's the way that Dan Quinn team coaches had the success this year, isn't it?
They're playing, and I think Dan Quinn is coaching with a chip on his shoulder, just dating back to the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl. Yeah. I think he's out to prove what he can do and that he really can get it done. Yes. And I've heard a lot of his players give him a lot of praise with how he handles things, how he's done things, and them believing in themselves more because of how he does it. Yes. Which I think is a really cool thing. And I think that says a lot about your coach, because, in this league, not everyone gets the second chances to be able to have a job again the way that Dan Quinn does, right? So I think that he's going to make the most of it right now.
I'll tell you what, I know he ran Dallas's defense, and you got to wonder the Cowboys as Jay Stoggs must be kind of going a little crazy, still looking for that next coach, not knowing what's going on there, and then seeing Dan Quinn. They had him in the house. You should have fired McCarthy 2 years ago, like the Bucs fans wanted Bowles fired to keep Cohen in the house. But so Super Bowl, you think you're saying Kansas City, Washington?
Man, right
Sounds
now,
like
that is kind of what I'm going with. I want the Bills to win. I do. But like I said, Ray, I swear to God, every time I pick
bet against them, I know.
That Pat Mahomes
so
and the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm up there going like, God, dog, they did it again. And so I mean, until it happens, I'm going to go Chiefs, and I think the Commanders get the upset. I really do.
And the first pick for the Buccaneers in the 2025 draft. We said it's at all three levels on that defense. Jason Light's not going to go offense. Where does it have to be that first round pick?
Oh man, there's some different guys I've been looking at. I've been working on ready to work on the draft.
Yes.
The guy I really want is not going to be there, and that's Carter out of Penn State.
That's a dream.
He's going to be because we're sitting. The Buccaneers are sitting at 19, I believe, right?
Yes. And what do you know? Talk about Again, I'm going to be, and also you said this earlier. You don't bet against the Chiefs because they show you up, and you say something that turns the opposite. I always say I don't figure out how they're going to keep this to have the embarrassment of riches at wide receiver, but a franchised Chris Godwin could bring in the kind of draft pick in the first round that might have you available to pick where Carter's at, or they could parlay that other thing and make that thing work out to have something like that. Does that damage this team's? Because they're so Jason Light just fine. And you got to make sure he's a team first guy. But is it to put a splash on that, a big hire like that at the defensive line? Does that put a lot of pressure on him, like a Logan Hall, Sack Avenue's had, maybe seemingly? Although he showed up on the stat sheet there too, 2024.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it's all a gamble. You never know what you're going to get. A guy can be great at the collegiate level and then get there to the pro level, and you're like, damn, we missed again.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it draft or is it free agency? Do you look to find Levante David's replacement? Because a lot of people don't think KJ Britt, now being in the role that he's been in, can do it, right? Like, so what do you do? Me personally, I think that, and I say it all the time, and people think I'm crazy. I play defensive line, so I'm always like, yeah, get a lineman. And I know you can't get a defensive lineman all the time. So I think it's going to be big board, best available. And like I said, I really had a chance to break down all these young guys yet.
Yes.
But,
I look forward to your breakdown every year too. Because, I mean, you've actually nailed it. No, you've actually nailed a few of the draft picks, and then they actually panned out. They're doing pretty well. Yeah. You talk about KJ Britt. He's so good against the rush. As a former Buccaneer, but a former NFL defensive lineman yourself, James Cannida, number 98 in your program, number 1 in your heart, the better looking one of the inside interior Bucs defensive line. But Warren had the little quicker get off, but you were definitely a better one, especially with that mustache, brother. You looked, come on, let's be honest. You knew you were handsome when you were a Buccaneer. Just answer that one for me.
Someone needed to tell me a long time ago I should have fixed that stash back in the day, bro. I don't know what the hell was going on with that.
Oh, you didn't like it? I love it. No, to me that was most of your a lot of your character.
But when I see those pictures now, because I didn't do the full beard back then. I see that mustache, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" That
was classy. That was all class. And 99 wasn't going to grow a mustache. Yeah. Oh God, I forgot what I was going to ask you though about this Bucs defense. They're
well, you were talking about you were about to ask me about KJ Britt. I think about being so good the way he was,
built to stop the rush. Isn't that the identity you want for this? Because Todd Bowles' defenses, they never been exponentially great against the pass, but you stop the run first. You have that success. You make them one dimensional. You give your defense a chance. I mean, that's the identity of this team, or are we really supposed to flip the script and put everything in the secondary and suddenly try to be a full coverage team and maybe soften up against that run? Do you think that's a recipe for success for this Buccaneer defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different ways to look at it, because I'm not trying to be funny. If you look at it last year, you get first round pick last year was Barton out of Duke, right?
Yes.
And then you go was it not Tyke Smith was a 4th round pick?
No, then you go the kid out of Georgia.
No, that is Tyke Smith, right? The DB?
No, not Tyke Smith. I'm sorry, the kid out of Alabama, wasn't he?
2nd round pick out of Alabama. So that's what we missed again. Like we're saying the kid out of Alabama. We're not even saying this.
Wait, I got his name, but now that you put me on the spot, it's right there. It begins with a W, but it's
didn't even it wasn't. I said Will Anderson by mistake the other day, and my buddy was laughing at me. I was like, man, you know what the hell I'm talking about, man.
You're right, though. You make a point there. Man. It all stems from Joe Tryon-Shanka. He was the injured kid coming out of Washington, and he was like the luxury pick because no, he wasn't. I still think that kid he's got get up and go up his field, but he's going to continue playing in the National Football League. He's just,
I think there you go. It is Braswell.
No, I said W, but no, Chris Braswell.
Hey, thanks, Tim Weatherspoon. I appreciate that. But yeah, Tim Braswell. So you thought he was going to be a great player, right? You thought, oh man, good, this guy here, he was rated above Will Anderson out of high school. He was the second best pass rusher in Alabama that year, and it was just like crickets. Like, where did he go? So often, I think that one is going to be the most impactful player at 19 when you pick. If that's secondary, corner or safety, because from what I heard, Jamel Dean's going to be gone. They're not going to bring him back this year.
Yeah.
So he's going to go on. Zion McCullum was on and off this year. I still think that he's a great corner, but playing more in that role than he had to. Winfield being hurt, you need some depth there.
Yes.
Carlton Davis, we missed him this year. Believe it or not, he was going to Detroit. We did miss him. I believe that. I just think we do in that defense.
Yeah.
Whitehead being hurt, not in the middle, stay on the field. So secondary needs to be addressed. Linebackers need to be addressed. Edge needs to be addressed. I think this is where your scouting department makes all their money. They got to have the right people on the board to fit Todd Bowles' defense and make sure you pick the right one. Because on the offensive side, someone earlier said in the chat that they thought that our wide receiver room is kind of beat up and depleted. Mike, I believe, is going to be good for one more year.
Yes,
you do have to start thinking wide receiver depth. I like the way Jalen McMillan played. I still like Palmer. I hate Godwin got hurt. And someone just told me, Ray, that because he's been franchise tagged once, this second franchise tag would put the Buccaneers over, so they won't be able to do it.
Oh,
is what someone said.
They're going to drop all that Kyle Trask money, so they're going to pick that up. That's like $100,000. I'm kidding.
Yeah, Kyle Trask is still under that rookie contract anyway. So,
no, I think they're going to you got to think, well, you know what? I don't want to, it goes back to the whole thing with Liam Coen and what went on here. Maybe the Buccaneers, their only flaw, that front office and the Glazer family, they run such a great organization that their only flaw is maybe they're a little too laid back, too kind. Because, you figure a team would look for a way to definitely franchise Chris Godwin. And then if he stays, you still figure out a way to keep him on his team, because it's not a losing proposition to keep a player of his skill in that locker room. It just doesn't give you that extra money to address on a defense. And like you said, all three levels, brother.
Right. And it depends. And I believe Chris Godwin wants to be in Tampa, but at the same time, I think he's going to want to be compensated the way a good number 2 wide receiver should be. He's not going to get number 1 money. Not in Tampa. He's not. Mike's still that guy, right?
Doesn't work. Yes. And the thing is, a twice injured receiver, but again, still comes back, still rehab process, the way he attacks it. It's just one of those inspirational stories in the locker room. He's going to come back, but yeah, I think he deserves to get that bag. And if that bag, maybe that's his thing with the team. They can't franchise him, but they're going to let him get that offer and he's going to go. But man, if you could figure out a way to franchise him and parlay that into a pick. But James Cannida, man, so good talking with you here on a Friday night. I'm glad we were able to put this together. There's going to be a billion things. But go ahead and tell everyone what you got. Again, share about the information, what you're waiting on to do that reel, and where they can find a Big Game Sports Buzz.
Well, this is your boy, James Cannida, a.k.a. Big Game James, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive tackle. And you can find me on YouTube, on BGSE Network, also on Big Game Sports Buzz is my sports variety show. And also now Games Pewter Perspective is my Buccaneer channel that I'm going to start separating my Buccaneers content. And then on social media, you can follow me on X. That's at BGSE Network or at JCan97. Or you can jump on Facebook and find me at James Cannida, or those two network names, Big Game Sports Buzz or BGSE Network. And I'm also on Instagram. I try to do everything. Kids got me making TikToks and everything, Ray.
You're doing I love it all, James. Give me more.
I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what the hell is going on half the time. But,
Okay,
I'm trying to put it out there.
No, good stuff. And then, man, I got to go back. That time we had you and Jay Stoggs on the pregame for the Dallas Bucs game. That was just some of the most fun we've had. That was probably our best show of the year down here at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. But before I let you go, you recently celebrated a milestone birthday. I hope a gentleman doesn't mind telling us what birthday did we celebrate?
I just hit the big 5-0, man. I just hit the big 5-0.
And how'd that 50 shot thing go? How far did you guys go there in Vegas? And tell me about it.
Shout out to my crazy wife. Love her to death.
Oh, the best.
We're about to hit 25 years this February, man. And
congratulations.
So here is. She said, hey, you turning 50, you only do it one time. I'm taking you to Las Vegas. So my wife put together the Las Vegas birthday weekend for me with some great friends. We had a really good time. So here it is. We're sitting downstairs talking. I said, well, what do you want to do for your birthday? Like this, you like that? I'm like, yeah, well, we can do this, we can do that. She said, I got it.
50 shots.
She's like, I got it. We got to take 50 shots for your 50th. I said, hey, love, if I take 50 shots on 50, I'm not going to wake up to see the next day. She said, no, not you, the entire group. So here we get to talking, brainstorming. You know, I write up this big post. I put it in our group chat. I was like, hey, there was a little apprehension in that post. I mean, you were like, we're going to do this. I want to thank my beautiful wife for suggesting this, but I'm a little worried here. This thing could go south. Yeah, like 50. And, hey, shout out to my team. The whole birthday crew was on point, and they were great.
Yes.
But your boy took most of the 50. I'm just going to tell you that right now because I'm the biggest in the crew. So I absorbed most of those 50 shots. But we put it out there, and here it is. We got a count tally going on. Every time somebody took a shot, they kept count. So by the time we all meet up in Vegas that day, it's like, all right, we gonna shot this, and we're posting them the pictures and on social media every time we got a.
There was some questionable shots there early on in the process. Were you worried about mixing things a little bit?
Some of the bars in Vegas, I gotta say this, they were very heavy-handed. And I was like, yo, look, we need to count this as a double. This is not a regular shot. And my wife is like, if it's in one glass, it's in one shot. So when we hit 33, I was like, when we hit 30, I was like, all right, we in the home stretch. We can get this done now. And then sort of like to top the night off, we went to go see 50 Cent in concert, and it was like
that was awesome.
By the time we got to Planet Hollywood for the concert at the bar there, we did some more. Next thing you look up, we were like, I think we ended up we topped it off at like 63 or 65 total.
Oh, and I saw there was a 50 Cent picture. I'm not sure who posted it. I saw it part of the group, and I was like, yeah, they're on the upper side of that 50 shots right there. But it wasn't bad. But you guys look like had a great time. So I wanted to use you to tell that story, to go ahead and take a chance to wish you a happy birthday.
Appreciate that, man. I really do. I appreciate the birthday shout out, man.
Let's do this again before the Super Bowl, and then not your 25th anniversary weekend. Of course, I always know that because I celebrate. Kathleen and I celebrate our 25th there in June, and you and I've talked about that same year. Yeah. We're 2000 babies, but James Cannida, Big Game Sports Press. My wife got me the ring with the date inside of it. Plus, she goes, "It's 2000. Every year, just add one. You should know where you're at." I'm like, "Oh, there was some knowledge." Right?
Exactly.
It's got us out of some trouble.
I thank Aisha for that every year that we got married in zeros. It makes it a lot easy for me.
And I always say this: you out kicked your punt coverage there, my friend. Yeah, congratulations.
I did. I'll kick my coverage big time on that. I'll raise the glass to that for sure.
Please tell her thank you for sharing you on a Friday night, my friend. James Cannida, number 98 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Have a good one, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ray. Have a good night, man.
You now too. I tell you what. My bad. Wrong one. Yeah, I mean, and jumped right out of there. That's awesome because he had to go and he spent a little more time than he wanted to tonight. But I'll stay over now because I want to read your comments and then I want to get to the Dependence part of the entire show. I'm sorry I didn't read the comments. I just hadn't had a chance to talk to James, but Peter Blake would barely share him when we had him and Jay Stoggs on the pregame for Dallas. So I wanted to have a chance to talk to him tonight. And then I really took him some weird places, but I hope you guys enjoyed listening to James Cannida. And if you're not already following the Big Game Sports Buzz on the BGSE network, do it. You'll know why. You'll love everything. Not such a big Bucs fan, but then having actually played the game and having that perspective, having not just been in a locker room, having been in the locker room. It's one of the reasons why I love it. Definitely the Rolodex, that's the heaviest. That's the card that's gold-plated right there, having James Cannida. Thanks for joining me on a Friday night. Tristan Gay says, character is the last thing noticed from people with low character. Never heard nobody say he's a good man. Never heard a player speak about him in all honesty. And I'll give a shout out again to Jay Retcher today. Had Greg Allman and Scott from Pewter Report. I always forget Scott's name, but they were talking about, and if it was actually Scott or Scott Reynolds, geez, it's just been one of those days, talks about, hey, Liam Coen stopped his tweet. He had a tweet, and last time he tweeted, he was still the offensive coordinator with Kentucky. And the last tweet was last year, right before he got hired here. And there's one tweet. It was such a great story from Scott Reynolds. The last tweet on there is a Kentucky fan saying, "Good luck, good luck with Liam Coen. After 1 year, he'll be leaving you." And of course, that actually comes to pass. And so that had a little bit extra levity to it. If you can find that, if it hasn't been taken down now because they covered it so well there on the Jay Retcher pod, go back and take a look at it. Yalshanda says this is Jason's fault. He failed to secure a definite successor for the Buccaneers. Definite success factor for the Buccaneers. Yeah, I mean, Liam Coen, his body of work, albeit one season, definitely was a success factor. But I think also, again, remember, it's also predicated. Everyone's like, well, Baker Mayfield's had 7 offensive coordinators in a 7-year pro career, and I'm like, and the guy had his best year ever. They're having a party down at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar. His best year was last year, his 7th year with the 7th offensive coordinator. So I would say maybe we're starting to go, oh, Baker should run this offense. Maybe Baker's your offensive coordinator as well next season. Citian Emil Boss Citian says go Bucs 100%. Citian also says, "What's up, Ray? What's up, brother? Thanks for joining me here on a Friday night." Oh, Yalishanda says the problem is our wide receiver room needs improvement fast. Godwin doesn't need to return for the money he wants with injuries he's had. Okay, that's a take. Evans most likely retire after this next season and residual if he gets 1K and has a record to himself. Of course, your Walter Payton Man of the Year honoree for 2025. Can't wait for the announcement there the week leading up to the Super Bowl. The character he's brought to this locker room, Jason Light's very first. And then, remember, I always say that. Don't forget, Mike Evans was Jason Light's very first draft pick in 2014. Of course, this is his 11th season, going on his 12th season, I mean. But, he all the work he does in the community, all the work that the Evans do through the Family Foundation, that guy's got a plan. But he is definitely enjoying it. He does not show any sign of letting up. He's definitely in his best health. And I still think that Tom Brady and Guerrero probably taught Mike Evans about health because he looks so good this year. He's maintaining his health so well just because he's a dog. Ralph Williams says, hello, guys. Sorry to hear about Liam Coen going to Jacksonville, and Happy New Year, Ralph. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Oh, Yash Linda's got another one. It's going to be Yalish. The problem with another one. The problem is our wide receiver is the biggest weakness of our offense. One injury ends our season. Man, are you voice to texting on this? Literally, our handicaps our offense. Godwin doesn't need to return to the major injuries he's had. Okay, so I get you on Chris Godwin, and I'm not saying you're completely wrong, Yalish. Expects too much money for a re-sign. Well, he's got to get, before you mentioned yourself, 2-time injured, still comes back. You're still going to get everything out of Chris Godwin, heart and hustle, and everything that comes with having a phenomenal receiver like Chris. But it's his second injury, coming off his second injury, and it just happens to be contract year. He's already got a body of work that makes him at least the most or one of the most solid number 2 receivers. And again, you may find a team that could use him as one depending on the scheme they run, but out of the slot, probably not as much as on his Buccaneers team when they have Mike Evans. So let me finish this. Evans 9-9-10 retires after next season, especially if he gets 1,000, because ultimately, he'll pass Cherry Rice and he'll have 12 straight 1,000 to start a career too. Is also once he's the only person who's done that. Okay, ultimately saying Levante just turned 35. He's old, and we're now in the same situation as Derek Brooks as a grandfather is producing and keep wanting one deal until. That's a great point, brother. It definitely takes you right down. And again, with Derek Brooks, it pretty much came to where you felt they had an understanding, and going into the preseason, it was like, hey, Derek, you're probably not going to make this team. And Derek Brooks respectfully retires, 100% deserves to do that. And that's the reason why the Bucs, again, maybe they're accused of letting Liam Coen out of the facility because they're a little too nice to people. I'm kidding. It is great having owners that care, but this week, if anything else they've shown, maybe because again, you get a player, you draft a player in New York, they walk the stage, and I mean, literally, as they're stepping off the stage, they're putting the hat on, or they just gave Roger Goodell a hug, and next thing you know, they're at $1 place signing that contract, and being that keeping Liam. Last season, it was so many things, Baker's contract, and everything this team had to address. That was the number one priority, was Liam Coen, and it took 5 days for everyone to come around and say, "Oh my God, look, we got screwed and left at the altar and jilted." And talking about jilted, I'll get onto that. Let me read some more comments. We'll get back to that in a second. There it is, Big Game Sports Buzz Network. Like and subscribe. Hit thumbs, 100%. You want to hear some. And again, even if you're not ready to do it right away, which you should be, to follow, go to the page. Just watch a couple of things, the breakdowns, the knowledge, and then, bury the lead also. Dang, still coughing. Big Buccaneer, the inside scoop on that. As Buccaneer fans, it's one of the reasons why it's so knowledgeable, but it's all the reason why. And then, there's Jay Stoggs. Nobody's perfect. He's a Dallas Cowboys fan, and that narrative's been fun to play with a little play with the last few years, except for when Dallas came back and beat us in the wild card. Like and subscribe, hit thumbs. Oh, Ben Cornette on a Friday night. Ben, I don't see any reason why you would fire Bowles right now. He's won 3 straight division titles, especially when some fans wanted to promote Coen head coach because they think he's the next McVay. And that's just really, especially going to, 72 teams in the last 72 months, and the way he jumps around, and you want to say he's probably doing what's best for his family, 100%, and want to be a challenge as a head coach to get a chance to work with, again, a Trevor Lawrence, who today he's not a generational talent, but it wasn't just his freshman year, his sophomore year too. Of course, he had Debo Sweeney, and he had great wide receivers at Clemson. And anyway, to pass up a chance to be out. Let me go rest of your comment. I'm sorry. Now I'll say Ben Cornette, good friend. Now I'll say the Bucs this time next season win the division and have an early play. Whoa. Okay, this is getting dark. Oh, Ben's saying, okay, if they win next season, win the division, but they have an early playoff exit, then he thinks that, it would be fair time to possibly go in a different direction as far as the head coach goes, as it could be a situation where Todd can only take this team so far. Yeah, that's fair enough, because the comparisons, and I've been doing it all night, not just because James played on those teams, but I've been doing it all night comparing this to the Tony Dungy team of the 2000 and turn of the century. And got up that from 96, Tony comes in here and getting up that hill, gets there, and they're there perennially, it seems, for 17 years. And they finally, anyway, to get the long story short, the argument for that, I keep leaning, sorry, is that, yeah, now that Todd Bowles has that offense, and I was watching all year, Ben, I'm like, sometimes the offense got off the field even too fast, which is a weird thing to say, but they score so fast. And of course, toward the end of the season, especially against the Commanders, there was too many 3-and-outs on some of those plays, but that's going to happen. I wanted to say they got off the field too. No, the offense was consistently scoring all year. And they were giving this defense every bit of a chance to succeed. And we do have injuries. But I would say if the injuries don't decimate you next year, you don't lose some huge player or a bunch of players, then you can explain away the reason why they exit in the playoffs. Still having them there at the end of the year, I'd say Todd Bowles deserved, unless you've got another Liam Coen and the offense was like first in the league and that defense still struggled. That's fair enough. I agree with that, my friend. Christopher Cole. Hey guys. Hey Christopher. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comments, but if you guys have anything right now you want to ask. Big Game says, "What's up, Chris?" James, I was sitting there talking. I'm just rambling, trying to ask you questions, and you're having conversations in the comments. I'd have read these comments. I was sorry about that, my friend. What's up, Chris? Yeah, Ben Cornette also says the franchise tag for Godwin would be around 30. Oh, shut the front door, because he's already tagged. Well, I don't think he's Ben. I didn't know you were the one saying it was second time. I still think he satisfied his rookie contract. We franchised him and we gave him this current contract, which is a very good contract. But I don't think I think this would be the second time, which is weird. So I still think it is. You're talking about going to the receiver money going into 2020. Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to see what the average of the top 5 receiver contracts in the league, take into account Tyreek. And don't stop with the Tyreek Hill coming here. Sherman Williams says, JC, Buck draft this year, 19th pick. Okay, he was cornerback or edge rusher. Yeah. Yeah. But again, I tell you what, James said something there, and I kind of agree. If there's that outstanding linebacker, and it's not because it was just because of Levante. Um, and we know having Levante that we've had him for 14 years, for 12, going on 13 years, and then no, going on 14 years, and then going back to making those comparisons to Derek Brooks, and the linebacker is such an important position on his team. And I think especially in this Todd Bowles defense, you need that quarterback in the middle, because it's we've got phenomenal. You talked about Zion McCollum. We talk about the Easy, and we talked about the performances we got out of a very young secondary. And I'm going to even throw out a shout out to Funderburk, although just because he's an App State guy, but undrafted free agent, had to step in a few times this year, didn't have a whole lot of success. Say what you will about all three levels of this, but you need leaders at all three levels. You have your Antoine Winfield. You still have your Vita Vea up front. You have a Kalijah Kane. So you have a Yaya. You have a very young defense. Savachier, it could be your splash at linebacker, but you want to make sure you got that position right. So, I mean, I'd have to see who that linebacker would be there and, see their body of work. And I'll see that when James gets out his draft breakdowns, and especially from a Buccaneer angle. And that makes it even all the more rewarding. Big Game Sports Buzz says, Sherm, I would go edge or linebacker. Yeah. Oh, sorry, James. I was talking all about that like I was reading it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, twice. Christopher Cole says they can't franchise him because it'll cost $30 million. Really, guys? Okay, so that shows you another show I came in completely unprepared. And I'll tell you why, because tonight, Big Game says, thanks, Chris. Wallace Smith says, that's good. Oh, that's a good family. Yeah, what's up, Wallace? Yeah, because he was talking about his birthday. Edge rusher Mike Green out of Marshall. Ooh, that one's a little saucy. Definitely a high motor. Oh, I mean, yeah, you can start thinking about that, especially at number 19 or moving around somewhere in there. Sherman Williams says Benjamin Morris, cornerback fighting Irish. Dude, that guy was, yeah, that was probably the reason why I think the Irish got so far to the championship game was the way their secondary, especially against the Texas Longhorns. I mean, they were just not able to really get started whatsoever. They were playing some really good defense, but their secondary really came through in that postseason. Megan Gill Caudill says, "Good evening, Ray. Let's freaking go. Forget Liam." Thank you, Megan. Somebody actually speaking sense in here. I appreciate that. Tim Withers, Braswell. That's, of course, when Tim came in and saved the day. Megan also says Carlton Davis would have been injured. And he was injured, I think, some in Detroit. Doesn't play. He was always injured in Detroit. Okay, yeah, he was. You're right. Bringing the knowledge, Megan. Appreciate it. Sherman says Igbuka out of Ohio State, wide receiver. Oh, man. I mean, if you're talking about, again, a Mike Evans, if Jason Light has an idea, maybe a narrative with Mike, and he knows what Mike's thinking for after next year or the following year. Also makes your decision with Chris Godwin completely different. Franchise him, even if it's $7-8 million, you'll still have the best receiving tandem in the NFC South. Big Game, Sherm, I like him. Sherm, I like him. Yes, he does, out of Ohio State. $38 million, Christopher Hall. Okay, so we're not going to be franchising him. James says, thanks for having me. Oh, James, brother, come on. Now you're making me blush. So I love talking with you, my friend. Oh, wait, Peter Blake says, wait, $41 million, Ben? They can't franchise him. Okay, the second time. James has raised the best. See, Peter says they can't franchise him again. I don't know. That's Peter Blake. It's like, for me, but then I see this guy, James Cannida, number 98 in your program, number 1 in your heart, former Buccaneer. He says, raise the best. There's a lot that I trust that one. This one, not so much. This one, you got to trust it. All right, so I'm going to get out of here because it's already getting late on a Friday night. And this is really the kind of reason why I had to talk with you guys here. I guess there's just nobody watches these things, which I totally get it. Because nobody's giving me any grief about my Liam Coen takes. And I was just reading, and shout out again, shout out to this guy from the Sports Web the other night. Of course, Harry Berg and Peter Blake. And of course, they had the Bucs sideline guy, TJ Reeves, in there. And Peter says if they did, it would cost as much as a quarterback. Okay. Speaking of as much as a quarterback, where does Kyle Trask play in 2025? But they covered this the other night when I went on. I called in because I got home late, and it was a great show in the Sports Web, and it's available. Go there and watch. And and TJ even said, because I was talking about Liam Coen and I talked about, this and that, and then they were kind of like beating around the bush. They're like, oh well, let's see, let's just see if that ends up coming to pass. Of course, I should have even known something because that was already day 4 of the saga. Basically, Alan Breer of Sports Illustrated really broke down the entire saga, but basically just the way they agreed in principle on the contract, the way, Jason Light goes right to Liam Coen and says, what's it going to take to keep you here? Liam comes back with the $4.5 million, making him the highest paid coordinator in the history of the National Football League. Then he comes back a day and a half later and says, wants more money. And Jason Light loved the fact that he stands up to him and says, no, we're done negotiating. This is the contract that it is. That's, that didn't make him run into the arms of Shad Khan in Jacksonville because they still hadn't fired Trent Baalke. But then when Baalke, and then when they fire him, that was about the time that we were on a show the other night, and there was another thing. I guess there was where there's smoke, there's fire, but they were alluding to the fact that he wasn't going to be your Buccaneers offensive coordinator in 2025, and obviously they realized when you fired Trent Baalke, and he was still a number 1 pick. Shad Khan makes a great move for his organization because he said, we're going to do what it takes. I almost played out perfectly for him, right? Because when everybody was saying you should have fired him even before you fired Doug Peterson, and I'm getting way too much into the Jaguars on this, but he says, no, we're going to do what it takes. And if there's a coach out there that comes in here, and then Liam also almost walks away from the table, and then McVay comes from the Shanahan tree, but Shanahan again is the only other coach literally in the history of football that was hired in and told he can bring in a general manager. So big boss move. But again, the Bucs were waiting for an answer. They offered him just the number 1. And I almost felt like, not that I feel like I received any kind of it's like this, but I think part of the problem, and it's not just about money, but now you've set that bar so high. Now, how do the Bucs? What kind of a negotiation standpoint do you have with whomever you're going to hire as your offensive coordinator for 2025? It's like you were literally prepared to pay $72 million to keep a guy that's only done play calling at the pro level for 1 year, and he had a great team. But the Buccaneers, they made it known they were willing to keep him, and that was because of the relationship he had with Baker Mayfield. So I guess I just beat around the bush right there. Peter Blake says, no, not on the Bucs. Say it, Michael Pratt. I have no idea where you're going with that. Must be another comment or something coming in here. But nobody called me out on that. And I'm glad you didn't, because it came from the heart. It's just, going through all that. We had to, you drafted Vinny Testaverde out of Miami in '87, and he was like the Heisman Trophy winner, and he was going to come just a few miles up the road, and Florida Heat was going to not be a problem for him, and you're going to get him Alvin Harper. You're going to do all these things to just have so much success, but you made it going into that season. You're like, this is how we have it, because we have Paul Gruber at left tackle, and it's the best thing, the best lineman to ever play for the Buccaneers before Tristan Wirfs. And I'm not taking away from all of our linemen over the years, because that's where I've always had, my heart's always been, kidding around about me. Wow. Wait. Tim Haynes says, good evening, Tampa Bay Ray. Tim, good evening. Appreciate you. Oh, comments going back and forth. Trask will not most likely be on his team. Pratt could be the future. Oh, Pratt, yeah, no, 100%. He's a dog, and he seems like he's good in this system. I like the story with Pratt. Just not so much inspirational, but, a leader. And again, right up that tree of what Jason Light drafts for this team, a team first attitude player. But Pratt's got that swag. He's got that sway to be an able backup for your. But again, I'll tell you this right now. Okay, this is where Misador finally. This is where rubber meets the road. Here is that of course, if Canales or Cohen sign Kyle Trask to their squads, then that right there tells you that the two most outstanding offensive coordinators in the league over the last 2 seasons think highly enough of this kid because what they saw with him. I still say the Manville kid, always ready to go, and has a couple of years behind Tom Brady. He did not learn. I think if he wants to play football in 2025, he's going to get some decent look and at least a nice contract to make him comfortable as a backup quarterback. You're going to be paying for your potential there to have someone like him, 6'5", 230, 228, whatever, stand in the pocket, over the top thrower that can really, really pitch the biscuit, can really risk the biscuit. I think the Buccaneers will at least move to keep him here because they know what they have with him. But it's going to depend on if he wants to move closer to home. Are the Texans looking, or Cowboys something in Texas, or does he like it here? Jacksonville's close to Gainesville. He had success there as a quarterback, Heisman Trophy finalist in Gainesville. Now I'm just rambling. Is there any more comments? Let's see. Peter Blake says, "Wait, okay, because of trash." Shut up, Peter. By the way, once again, just a little bit of taking a little. Oh, let me go. I want to talk about this, but let me go ahead and just do a little bit of dirty laundry, a little bit of house cleaning. Sportsweb will have you covered down here for Fan Fest. Gonna bring it over here to Ferg's, do a live show here from the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill down here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the Edge District of Fame. That was weak. I'll try it again later, but not during Fan Fest. We're gonna be out there having a great time, of course, celebrating like you Rays fans over down at the St. Pete Pier. But then afterwards, come up here to Ferg's. We're gonna have a show. We'll have an open mic. Come on in, Rays fans, Bucs fans, Lightning fans, Rowdies fans, Bulls fans. Tomorrow, yeah, that's the last. I'm going to leave it up there. People are wondering what you're laughing at. Tomorrow, I'll be down here, basically sitting right here where I'm at in the world famous on the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection with Mike Rickard. He's actually told me I'm the co-host tomorrow, which is going to be phenomenal. We're going to have a couple of the sports teams from over here at Eckerd College are going to come down here. We're going to have Peter Gollenbeck, of course, great author of the Bronx Zoo, author of just many, many great books, a baseball historian, just a really good author. Will be talking to us. And Mike told me I've got a runway as a co-host, so it could get really off the rails. So check us out tomorrow. Tell you what, I'll share it right here in case you're watching this and you're like, oh, let me see what next time. Oh, my thank you, Nick. I appreciate that, brother. Wrong messenger. This is so rude. I should have had this already, but yeah, this is awesome. So tomorrow we'll be live here from Fergus from 11 to 2 we'll be from 11 to 1, but we'll be from 11 to 12. We'll be on radiostpete.com, Florida Sports Streams, Channel Spotify, Sports Talk Florida, and the Big 8 AM 820, having small affiliates 98.3 FM, 96.7 FM. That's in the Bay Area here, or you can stream it off radiostpete.com. But we'll be down here, and again, it's going to get off the rails. I'm going to have fun with the sports teams from Eckerd College, and of course, have fun with Peter Gollenbeck. We'll be talking baseball history. I promise I won't talk any stadium. We'll let Liam Coen and his jilting of the Buccaneers at the altar be the precipice of the show tomorrow. Peter says, "Go kill it." With somebody else. There's a man in the backyard. But you're talking about the Bucs being jilted, and this is great today because I got into a really good narrative with some friends this morning, real early, about the times in the past. Of course, I mentioned Steve Christie and the Plan B free agency, and Paul Stewart came right back with it, brought it. Check out buckpower.com. Paul's they're loading all the database from 2024, all the statistics, the actual statistics that the team and the sources all around the league use, the official Buccaneer statistics there on buckpower.com. But Paul and I were talking about Steve Christie, and of course, he had a girlfriend here, and he was taking classes himself at USF and Plan B free agency. And Sam Weiss, the thing is that Sam had a handshake that Steve was going to leave him unprotected. And Steve Christie was showing himself to be the best, or one of the best kickers in the league, would go on and become the leading scorer in Buffalo Bill history. In number 2, ironically enough, it looks like the kicker they currently have, but got jilted there, which was a jilt. But, talking about coaches with this team, don't people forget 1991, just 2 years removed from, or 1 year removed from when the Giants beat the Bills here in Super Bowl in 85 or in 90. Of course, that was the Whitney Houston Super Bowl. Parcells is going to come to the team. Hugh Culverhouse guarantees him $6.5 million and total control. And here's the thing, Bucs fans, which is crazy, is we had some dogs over the year. Phil Kruger, we had Wayne Fonts, we had people in Abe Gibran, but we had people really great developed. I see people seem to want to come here. It was Tampa Bay, nice place to live, and we had some really good dogs in the front offices, and then the team would just continue to make the wrong decisions, and Hugh Culverhouse would continue to thrifty spend. But he had offered him in 91, Bill Parcells, $6.5 million in total control of the team. That was so exciting for Bucs fans because we're like, this is gonna, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. It doesn't happen. He jilts the team. And Yeah, that was that. But it happened again in 2002, and that was the one. Even though the entire Tampa Bay and no one on defense ever said it, a couple of times they alluded to it, but there were everybody in Tampa Bay knew that there had to be something that we were tired. It was just it. We needed offense. We had just a Hall of Fame defense, and it came to pass that there were 4 players on that team. Some would argue even more, and needed an offense. They fired Tony Dungy because the plan was to hire Bill Parcells. And within the week after they offered Bill Parcells the job and they fired Dungy to hire Parcells, they were talking about Mike Tannenbaum leaving the Jets to come down and run his like he did with the Parcells and the Giants originally. And there were already starting to be rumors in the league that Parcells and his team was already reaching out to coaches that were under contract. And so they had a tampering thing. So already before you're going in, you're thinking we're going to lose a draft pick or something crazy is going to happen. Of course, he steps back from that, doesn't take the job there in 2002. And of course, the Buccaneers would, Al Davis would call and say, hey, I'll trade you, coach. And Gruden's got a history tied back with his dad being a scout for the Buccaneers back in the day. But it cost them a lot, and they got the Super Bowl. And then somebody came back with the Bo Jackson thing. That was so self-inflicted. It was so stupid. But you talk about drama from the top down, and Hugh Culverhouse flies him down here on the private jet. And I swear everybody, me. So I'm the same guy that tried to tell you that Liam Coen wasn't going to leave, and I was sure about it. I was so sure that I wasn't so sure that Hugh Culverhouse was smart enough to know that by flying Bo down here, he would, make him ineligible for the second half of his baseball season there at Auburn. Of course, it would come to pass. People know one of the most iconic two-sport players, having been drafted by the Kansas City Royals and playing for the Oakland Raiders. They got him in the 7th round, right? Which is crazy. But, after Bo Jackson said don't draft me, I will not go there. Hugh Culverhouse still drafted him, and I always said he did that on purpose because he didn't want to spend the money on the number 1 overall pick, a running back like Bo Jackson. But man, what that could have done! What that could have done back in the day. Talking about here's another one. This one goes back way back. That was in '91, but no, that doesn't happen. Because Richard Williamson wasn't even in '91, was he? Yeah, it says here, I got written down here, Bill Walsh had started broadcasting, retired from the San Francisco 49ers. And there was rumors that he was going to want to come back and possibly coach. And the Buccaneers had supposedly an agreement in place with him to come back and coach the team to leave the broadcasting booth. And he ended up having pretty good success there. And then, of course, as a result of that, the Bucs would take the interim tag off of Richard Williamson, who was the nicest guy in the world ever. But it was a terrible team that year. 96, Steve Spurrier. There was rumors that Steve Spurrier was going to come after having had success there at Florida. He was going to come here. The first team drafted him out of Florida State, the 1969 Heisman Trophy winner, Steve Spurrier, old ball coach. And he ends up, he stays at Florida, which was a good thing for him because they actually won the national championship the next year. 96, 97. That wasn't Danny Werfel. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. And of course, 2008, which is ironic, but in 2008, a Hail Mary pass from outgoing, almost literally out the door less than a year later, John Gruden had a agreement with Brett Favre to come here and play because the Rodgers experiment had started out there in Green Bay. And the irony about that is that don't forget that Aaron Rodgers will tell you that on draft day, back when he was drafted by the Packers, that Gruden said, if you're on the board when you're there, we're going to bring you to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't know why I went there talking about that on a Friday night, but those are just some of the facts and everything. But yeah, I'm so glad not many of y'all. I guess, like I said, it's probably more of a disappointing thing that you guys don't think of me serious enough to give me shit. I'll just say it, to give me poo about the Liam Coen things. But you guys understand that I try to read the tea leaves, and then I go where my heart takes me. And I really thought that he was going to be here. I thought it was the best play for him. Did not know that Balky was going to have Shad Khan. Balky get fired, but Shad Khan was going to literally give him something that only Kyle Shanahan got with the Niners, and that was to literally have a say and a sway with the general manager, which actually makes you a little more worried about trying to poach. Maybe they've made everyone pissed off everyone enough over at One Buck Place that they won't even take that call. But now he probably stretches back to maybe he goes after Snead from the Rams. Maybe he's from working for McVay. But thanks to the Big Game Sports Buzz, of course, James Cannida, for joining me here on a Friday night. If you're not following him on a BGSE network, do it. I appreciate y'all for tuning in on a Friday night. A little more laid back, but a little cold out. I got to come in here to Ferg's, and now I'm going to go over here and get some wings and have a great Friday night. And you guys know how I end every one of these things. Everyone needs to know someone cares. This week, let me make sure there's no more comments. There's not. I'm kidding. Everyone needs to know someone cares this week. Be the one that reaches out and lets them know. It's always nice to hear, and you never know when you're going to get it back. And it feels even better when you get it back, but it also feels good to tell someone you care. That's it. Have a great Friday, everyone, and we'll see you on the next Cup of Ray. And Peter Blake and the guys will see you in the sports web. FanFest, Ray's FanFest 2025. Don't forget, February, we'll be down at the pier. See y'all later.